Hello, my dear viewers. Really thank God for this time, and I warmly welcome all of you to this brief lecture on the ongoing international conflict between US, Israel, and Iran. The purpose of this lecture is not to highlight the cause or course of the ongoing war. Let's also not discuss on the power displayed by the US, Israel on Iran, even though to a certain extent Iran has successfully retaliated. We are also not discussing on the future geopolitical implications that the ongoing war is bound to herald, but this brief lecture is confined and will center around the theme of this video, that is, why can't Iran have a nuclear weapon? So even medias of different countries are today engaged in a battle of words over Iranian nuclear issue. Interestingly, the nuclear narratives is one chief cause of this ongoing US, Israel, and Iran war. And to begin with, I wish to quote the President of United States, John F. Kennedy. He said, "Mankind must put an end to war, or war will put an end to mankind." Very appropriately, it has been mentioned that in international relations, there is no permanent friend and foe, but only permanent interest. And it is also maintained that nations can change behaviors in international relation, but not interest. So when we look at their relation before and after 1979, there's a huge difference we find. Because initially, before 1979, Israel and Iranians were sharing a mutual friendship. It was close allies till 1979. Iran was amongst the first Islamic countries to recognize Israel, as Israel claimed independence in 1948. And Israel in turn regarded Iran as an ally against Arabian states. The relation even went deeper when initially Israel trained Iranian experts, supplied technical know-how, and helped build up and train Iranian armed forces. So such was a mutual deep relation between these two. Iran in turn supplied oil to Israel. So the need for energy and oil was coming from the side of Iran to Israel. Initially, Iran was home to the second largest Jewish community outside Israel. So even presently we find around 20,000 Jewish still residing in the territory of Iran. But the post-1979, particularly after the regime change, Iran and Israel have developed enmity in recent past few decades, with Iranian government saying that it wants to wipe out Israel from the entire map. And Israel, on the other hand, regard Iran as its biggest adversary and a threat in the Middle East countries. Now let's come directly to the point. The fear of nuclear arsenals manufactured and built up in Iran is one of the chief causes of 2025 US-Israel war against Iran, and even the ongoing war with Iran seems to be that nuclear narratives. United States of America President Donald Trump argued that Iran had rejected every opportunity to renounce its nuclear program. He even claimed that Iran was developing long-range missiles that has a potential to threaten entire European countries. Also, it is a direct threat to US troops overseas. And he even said very soon that Iran is potential to manufacture such weapons which can reach American homeland. So is it an allegation, or is there any basis or evidence that we cannot say at the moment? But this is what Donald Trump has to argue. Iran, on its part, also considered Israel also considered Iran as a threat, as mentioned, in entire Middle East stability. So this is nothing but the issue is geopolitical security and safeguards, where the US and Israel views a nuclear-armed Iran as a major threat. So we know that US is a nuclear state already, and Israel, even though it's not declared, but Israel also is a nuclear state and the only nuclear country in nuclear state in Middle East countries. And Iran doesn't have any nuclear weapon as of now. But what United States officials is warning is that Iran was roughly just 1 week away from acquiring a nuclear bomb. So how far this is reliable news and information? That is another issue. So already three of them, two have already nuclear weapons. Iran was as per the information, Iran was in the process of manufacturing or in the process of upgrading its nuclear arsenal, which the other two has wished to put an end to that effort by the Iranian government. What we're learning is, for over 50 years, Iran had a civil nuclear energy program. This was peaceful and strictly non-military purpose. Iran repeatedly said its nuclear program only serves for a peaceful purpose, and there's no place in our nuclear doctrine to have a nuclear weapon. So this was clearly mentioned in April 2024 by the Iranian government spokesperson. But there was a recent concerning shift on which was declared by the Iranian officials. They had quite in many occasions they have explained and they have expressed the desire to have or the possible need to have a nuclear weapon. So this was a very concerning shift for the Western world. Now, does Iran have the capability to attack the United States? So for now, this question is quite not valid because Iran doesn't have any such capabilities or potential to attack the United States of America. One significant turn of event happened in the year 2024, and that grew or arose deep suspicions on Iran by US and its allies, because Iran was able to strike. This is perhaps the first time that at first attempt that Iran was able to strike on Israel in the year 2024. So it was able to hit Israeli targets with weapons fired from Iran. So this was one event which grew a lot of suspicions on the minds of the Western countries led by USA, that perhaps Iran is upgrading its manufacturing process, and ballistic missiles or the nuclear facility. There was a fear that Iran is still in its process of upgradation. So this was one big reason also that the attack continued in the year 2025. So that is one thing. But what it does show is that International Atomic Energy Agency say that Iran has technical capacity and materials. Yes, Iran does have potential, it has materials, and it has capacity. But what it doesn't prove and doesn't show is that there is currently no verified evidence for Iran that it is constructing an operational nuclear bomb. So International Atomic Energy Agency has stated it has not seen direct evidence of weapon development. So this is quite contrasting to what Western worlds are claiming and what the International Atomic Energy Agency have just revealed. Perhaps this is another history in repetition. The humiliation, destruction, the fall of regime of Iraq in the year 2003 is now faced by Iran in the year 2026. When we look carefully, the Iraq of 2023 and Iran of 2026, there's a resemblance. They share their similar theme, because in both of this occasion, nuclear danger was a big issue. It was used as a core rationale for military attack or military action. So this is one theme that they both share. Now, framing of threat, Iraq 2023, United States insisted that Iraq was developing nuclear weapons or other weapons of mass destruction that could pose an imminent threat to the Western world and outside. So these similar allegations we find in the year 2026 also, that United States claims Iranian's nuclear program is a serious threat. And in fact, they said just 1 week away from obtaining nuclear weapons by Iran. So it was just to justify their preemptive strike. So even the use of preventive language, action language, Iraq's invasion, that preventive war logic was employed here. So act now to stop a future nuclear threat. So this was the language which quite preventive in design, but then it was aimed with a lot of intention to destroy Iraq forever. And the strike on Iran also has a similar preventive action language, preventing future capabilities. So these are all preventive, both Iraq and Iran. So preventive war logic in this year's 2026 also, preventing future capabilities. So even as the actual status maybe something else, maybe different, but what the Americans, it's not like Iran has already obtained nuclear weapon, but just the fear that Iran might produce nuclear weapon in future, they are destroying, they are preventing that to happen by destroying, just completely destroying the infrastructure of these nuclear facilities. The major destruction happened in the year 2025, and the ongoing is also majorly this aimed at not allowing Iran to have this nuclear capabilities anyhow. Now in both 2003 and 2026 cases, external verifications has complicated the threat narratives. So first in the year 2003, Iraq, the International Atomic Energy Agency challenged the claim about Iraq's nuclear capabilities. They found inspection did not confirm. So this is the allegation was proved wrong. United States has clear allegations that Iraq was manufacturing nuclear weapon, but the inspection proved otherwise. International Atomic Energy Agency proved that it has no nuke in Iraq, so that the result was something different. Here also in Iran 2026, the International Atomic Energy Agency, even though they have confirmed that Iran has potential to produce one, there's no indication of confirmed damage to nuclear sites. After the attack, it was aimed at destroying nuclear sites, but the international agency confirmed that there's no indication which shows that nuclear sites has been damaged, meaning that there was no such alleged nuclear manufacturing sites in Iran. Iran is a sovereign country. So a sovereign country should have absolute right to decide on what sort of technology it can pursue. So why can't Iran have a nuclear weapon? That's a question. Now we're coming to the theme of our discussion. Why is Iran restricted to acquire nuclear weapon or weapon of mass destruction? The first very effective pointing on Iran is because of nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So international legal obligation is already attached on Iran. So Iran signed this NPT in the year 1968 and it was ratified in the year 1970. So as a non-nuclear weapon signatory, Iran is legally prohibited from acquiring or developing nuclear weapons. So this is one reason that Iran is not been allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Second restriction is that under NPT, Iran is required to allow the International Atomic Energy Agency to inspect and verify that its nuclear materials are not diverted to weapon use. So this is what under NPT, the international agency can interfere in the domestic sovereign country's territory. They can inspect, they can ransack, and they can confirm that the nuclear materials are for peaceful civilian use, but should not be diverted to weapons. So this kind of inspection is happening regularly by international agency. And in one of recent such inspection, the international agency confirmed that they found that Iran is in non-compliance with this agreement, citing that a general lack of cooperation and there was undeclared nuclear materials inside the territory of Iran. So this was one reason that the ongoing war is still going on. Now another way of explaining why can't Iran have a nuclear weapon. It is outside international legal obligations, but this is the concern of the Western countries and the Middle East countries, so concerns over regional stability. So it is Iran's nuclear arms is viewed as existential threat to Israel, so it can act like a direct military action, a military threat to Israel. So that is one reason I've explained earlier also that direct military action also taken to degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities, which continuously back to back 2025 in 26, and the war is still going on. And next important thing is that the arms race potential could be triggered in Middle East countries. So dangerous nuclear proliferation in the Middle East could be another chances that if Iran is allowed to have a nuclear weapon, similar countries like Saudi Arabia or other rich countries of Middle East could take this advantage, and it can trigger nuclear Middle East nuclear arms race. Another important is that aggressive foreign policy concerns excess that Iran could be more aggressive and can be more assertive in international relations. So this can be a huge danger to the interests of other nation countries. Of many international treaties, nuclear non-proliferation is one very important success treaty. 189 countries today are currently party to this very important non-proliferation treaty, with 4 exceptions. 4 did not sign. India refuses to sign, citing that NPT is very discriminatory. India was very clear that because 5 countries, China, US, UK, France, and Russia already possess nuclear weapons, and they were preventing other non-nuclear countries to have any attempt, any research, any endeavor to acquire nuclear weapon. There was a lot of total ban on those non-nuclear countries to access this facility or to manufacture any nuclear weapons. So India even proposed for a time-bound based destruction of existing nuclear weapons by this big 5 countries, reducing to 0% nuclear. Nuclear-free world was suggested by India, but these 5 countries, big countries, did not approve. So, citing that it's very discriminatory, India did not sign this NPT or even CTBT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Also, just like India, Pakistan also did not sign. Most important is because of India factor. Israel is another country who did not sign. South Sudan also did not sign. And North Korea signed but withdrew in the year 2003. So when we look at this NPT, it's very much of discriminatory. India was right because it is so much of unfair. And who should have nuclear weapon and who should not have nuclear weapon is all decided by these big countries. Today, besides the 5 big powers, 9 states already have nuclear weapons: Russia, United States, China, France, UK, Pakistan, India, Israel. Remember, these are non-signatory to NPT. Pakistan, India, and Israel. In North Korea also withdrew in the year 2003. So altogether today we have 9 countries who have direct access to nuclear facilities. International politics or international relation is a game of big powers. So under NPT, this has been resurfaced and confirmed yet again. Because even though it's a sovereign country has absolute and sovereign right to develop any sort of technology that they want as per the national interest. But that national interest is dictated by big powers. So what sort of technology the small and medium powers should pursue, whether nuclear facility be extended to them, or whether nuclear weapons should be granted, should be allowed to have, these are all dictated by these big powers in international relation. So the nuclear narratives, such as nuclear weapons being safe with certain countries but not safe with certain other countries, are central issue in international security dialogue. Like a competition or tussle of influence or power between democracy and non-democratic countries, saying that democracy is the best form of government, They are peaceful in approach. They pursue cooperative policies. In all the non-democratic countries are aggressive. They are non-cooperative in international relation. These narratives is extremely dangerous in international relation, and it is also central issue in international security. It impacts a nation's behavior in international politics and international relations. Iran is a sovereign country, and the spirit of sovereignty needs to be respected by every other countries, including even the United States of America. There is nothing wrong for Iran to manufacture, to research, to upgrade its weapons, whether it's nuclear weapons facility or no. Because remember, this is triggered by Israel's nuclear status, just like India and Pakistan. So Israel is been viewed by Iran as a hostile neighbor. So a hostile neighbor who has a nuclear facility, Iran will definitely want to have one. So triggered by security dilemma. So Iran is a rational actor. So it's nothing wrong that to have a nuclear weapon, because nuclear comes with a responsibility and not a mission. So to annihilate or destroy a country in the name of a nuclear policy is not an appropriate policy or not an acceptable action. So thank you so much for listening once again to my lecture. We'll see you again very soon in my next update of my video. Thank you.